Hello there, everyone, and welcome to GamePoints episode 229. Your weekly little get-together, we talk about recent gaming news. I'm, as always, your host, Stephen Brown, and joining me today is...
I'm David.
Tonight, David. Activision ironically censors the Call of Duty Black Ops trailer, Suicide Squad and Gotham Knights officially get announced, and we have a little bit of a new Switch rumor coming. I don't mean the games, I mean a new system in its entirety. But first... I want everyone here to know that this is an audience interactive podcast. So if you're watching here live every Tuesday at 8 p.m. at Twitch TV/GamePoints, feel free to join in the conversation. Of course, if you can't watch live and you watch it later over at youtube.com/GamePointsPC, feel free to comment with any questions, comments, concerns, etc. down in the comments below. Just try to keep them germane to the topics on hand if possible. Either way, feel free to help create the show as you watch, too. I want to know what you guys feel out there. It's important not to be in the little echo chamber between us, because we tend to... There are some things we do butt heads on, David, but a lot of things we tend to be aligned on. I want to get other viewpoints out there if possible.
That's fair.
David,
Yes.
before we get into any of the news, I want to say I played that Avengers beta.
Did you?
Yes. Now, the Avengers comes out next week, I believe. Not this Friday, but next Friday. And they've been doing a series of betas. There was the PlayStation 4 beta. Then last weekend, they had the closed PC and Xbox beta. This weekend was the opened one. And I downloaded it, played it for about 5 hours or so I can kind of come to my thoughts on it. I am not buying this game at launch anymore.
Did you say any more? Like you were somehow giving it an idea?
I was given an idea because I can't remember if we talked about this on the show or not, but I was craving something Destiny, Division-y, Diablo-y, and this I thought was going to fill that. But I was playing it, I suddenly realized what I love so much about those games, this has none of. And what it does try to do is just boring at it. Let's start with the world out the gate. The world it's set in, first of all, its style is just a cheap knockoff of the MCU, and it shows. Like, I keep looking at this. Unlike, say, Gotham Knights and Suicide Squad, which you got trailers for over the past couple days at the DC fandom, they look like their own individual worlds created within DC. This just feels like the cheap Chinese knockoff piracy version of the Avengers movies.
Or it's like the straight to DVD similar name grab
like
movie.
Transmorphers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hunter versus Alien.
Hell yeah.
It just felt like that stylistically. But let's say you can get over that. You have these worlds. There are certain things in here called war zones, which are really big. I don't want to say really big, but they're big enough to handle 4 people running around doing their own thing. Which is cool. But the problem is, when you have so many different movesets, because each character has, ultimately at the end of the day, they have like a light attack, a heavy attack, and a special move for the most part. They all kind of operate the same thing, and a range attack. But their traversal is all different. So, for example, Iron Man can fly.
Okay.
Kamala Khan she can like stretch her arms out. Think Mr. Fantastic and swing on things like so. She's quasi Spider-Man traverser, right?
Okay.
The Hulk can run and jump, and he can kind of like wall dash and climb up things. So everyone has like a different traversal idea. As such, you have to create these levels to fit the lowest common denominator, where everyone can get everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So all of this cool traversal shit means nothing. It just changes how you can get up to a point where everyone can get up there. Because you can play the game solo. So that means they don't want to lock you into switching between characters or anything like that. By the way, Soul Glove, Captain Ice Gold, good to see you both. The Spider-Man situation is a problem. For those who don't know, Spider-Man is going to be exclusive on the PlayStation 4, which is unfortunate.
It sounds like it doesn't really matter since everybody's just basically the same.
They play pretty differently. That's just it. Now, ultimately, their movesets are the same. I don't want to say the movesets are the same. I take that back. They feel distinct enough, but you have... They're so distinct, you have to cater to the lowest common denominator. So while they are individually different, it doesn't matter because you have to adapt your level to where everyone can do it, regardless of who you're playing as at the same time. Does that track?
Okay, yeah, I'm following.
So as such, while they all have like cool little like surface level abilities that make them stand apart from each other, it really doesn't affect the world all that much. This is doubly apparent when you realize that some characters are just flat out stronger than others. For example, the Hulk shouldn't be taking an equal number of hits to beat the shit out of a robot that Kamala Khan should be.
Oh, I mean, and that's one of the things that we had actually talked about the other day, is that it's really hard. We couldn't figure out how they were going to balance the game, because you probably have just regular old human enemies at some point, and some of the characters maybe need to hit them a couple of times to knock them out, and the Hulk needs to look at them to knock them out. And how do you balance that?
Yeah, and it's jarring, to say the least.
I was worried that the enemies were going to feel kind of bullet spongy. I don't want to say bullet spongy, but like I said, it just feels weird. If I'm Black Widow, okay, sure. I'm one-on-one to hit a person. I'm beating the shit out of them. Okay, cool. I get it. That feels like a standard Final Fight beat 'em up to me. Mm-hmm.
If I'm the goddamn Hulk or Thor, and I'm smacking people around with Mjolnir, and it does just as much damage as Black Widow punching someone in the face, there's a disconnect here. I get it. It's weird because this disconnect doesn't track to Marvel Ultimate Alliance. But in Marvel Ultimate Alliance, stuff is happening so quick that you don't stop and think about it. Here, fights go on a little bit longer than they do in that game.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't help but go, this feels really weird. It lasts long enough to give you time to think about the absurdity of it, and that's the problem.
Gotcha.
Finally, the biggest problem I have with it is the matter of gear. So, like any other... Like say Destiny, you have gear, and gear contributes to overall level, which affects how hard you hit, how much damage you take, etc. It's like Destiny's light level almost with their equipment.
Okay.
Two things. One, the gear in this game feels really weak. Like, I never felt any significantly stronger. So either it's a very slow curve that advances so slowly I didn't notice any difference, or there's something fundamentally just useless about the gear, and it doesn't help that no matter what you equip, none of it shows on your character.
That's fun.
Because you have to... I don't know if it's a trademark thing. I don't know if it's because Iron Man has to look like Iron Man or not. But they do not have any appearance changes. So I feel like I have added nothing.
Which is weird in a gear game, because that's part of the appeal, right? You play Destiny and you get a new chest piece and you put it on, your character looks different. It represents that part that you got.
It's so huge that it even affects the way people play games like Dark Souls, which is not a gear game. But people are like, I wear this because it looks fucking awesome.
Fashion Souls is a real thing.
Yes. This has none of that. Everything, and let's take all those gripes I've had aside about it. Let's just say it's fine everywhere. And you know what? At the end of the day, it is just fine. Marvel's The Avengers video game is the definition of your typical AAA video game. And it is safe.
Gotcha.
Safe is probably the closest word I can say to it. Captain Ice Cold says, you see, it's not a game, it's a continuous entertainment service. And it screams that. Everything about this screams designed by committee, safe, investors will love it, and it is running solely on the strength of its IP. You rip the Avengers out of this thing, and if it was, let's say it's Godfall, or let's say it's new IP here, this game would not even be a blip on anyone's radar.
Oof.
It is just safe.
Also, the way you mentioned gear and the fact that it didn't have any significant impact on your character, not just visually, but performance-wise, makes me think that it's a system that would be better served by just a regular old XP bar, and your character levels up and you just get stronger incrementally.
I would rather that.
In any other video game before Games as a Service became a thing. But now it's a gear hunt for a slightly bigger number that doesn't actually affect your character in any way. So it kind of removes that appeal of gear hunting games. So you might as well just have a script that just auto-equips anything you pick up.
This is why I say it feels like it is 100% designed by committee, where you had a bunch of suits get together and go, okay, what is selling in video games 3 years ago? Because remember, this game's actually been in development for a long time, too.
It's true.
I think it should have. I think it was supposed to have come out this time last year. I'm not positive on that. I don't remember. But we've been talking about the Avengers coming up for a while. It just, everything about it screams AAA video game. The game. I can't get away from that. It feels stale. It feels safe. It feels dated. It certainly looks dated. It's by no means a looker at all. I will admit, the idea of 4 people running around in these bigger war zones, that actually does have some appeal to me. And if
with that kind of thing, I would want like specific enemy types that the different characters are good at. But from what I'm hearing is that every character can do everything by the nature of the video game, which is cool, but for a decision of a superhero-based game where everybody's so radically different, I think it would be more interesting from a gameplay perspective if it's like, okay, that big guy, I need to be playing as the Hulk, or I'm not going to be able to do anything with Black Widow's pistols.
Yeah.
Or this room I cannot get through unless I turn to Kamala Khan and I just stretchy my way through it.
Or do what they do in Marvel Ultimate Alliance. Make everyone overpowered in their own way. Where you can clear out room after room after room and give them the Dynasty Warriors effect. In fact, I almost wish this had the Dynasty Warriors effect, where instead of, here's like 5 or 6 people that you have to hit a couple times to go down, they go like, here's 30 of them. And they all get down in one hit. I think that would have worked a lot better. And then occasionally you'll have like, here's your massive tank or dude in an exosuit, where even the Hulk would have some problems with. So that way they can at least justify the damage curve. They didn't do that in this. The tanks and the exosuits are in here, but they didn't do it like the basic enemy stuff. And it just feels... I know it sounds dumb.
You played a beta, and even the beta felt padded.
Yeah. I know it sounds dumb to say it does not meet my expectations of reality in a fucking comic book game. But there are certain rules the universe has established, and this does not conform to them. And there's a disconnect because of it. But hey, you said it best. It's a beta. Although I debate the term beta as well, because this goddamn game releases in a week. It's not a fucking beta.
It's a server stress test.
Yeah, that's for the most part, yeah. Also, there were some weird technical problems. Like cutscenes would hang. I was not getting 60 frames a second on it, and I know my computer can handle 60 frames a second because I stream high-end stuff at 60 frames a second while streaming. And I wasn't streaming this. So I know there's a problem. Let's see. Soul Glove says there may be no Avengers films this year, so this may satisfy those who need that fix. I guess I do agree. They are banking on the strength of this IP, and I actually do think the game is going to sell well because of the IP. I absolutely
But that again, that's the funny thing, right? Is that it's the only real Marvel property we're getting in this like pandemic-fueled world, right? For this time of year, and it doesn't look like all the Marvel stuff, so it's like vaguely in universe, but not really in universe. So it almost has like an imposter syndrome problem.
Okay, this I didn't know about, and I want someone to confirm this for me. So if you got a link, send it to me. But Captain Ice Cold Chat says an individual season pass for each hero. Is that true? Because that's fucked up if that's true. An individual season pass for each hero. I need for someone at home to track this down, track a link down for me. If you're watching on YouTube, put it in the comments. If you're here at Twitch, message me directly. If you put a link in the chat, it's going to time you out. But that's fucked. That is beyond the standard bullshit that I see on there. I am fine with the season pass in general, but if you have one for each individual hero and you're charging like $5 for it, fuck that. Fuck that.
Yep. The only thing I found on a cursory Google is that this post from a while ago that says that all the DLC is supposed to be free, but that was quite a long time ago.
Okay. So pending on that until I can find some kind of confirmation on. Not that I don't trust you, Captain Ice Cold, but I do like to have links to the stories, which is why I link everything.
I just keep finding like the Lego Avengers game had a season pass, so I just keep finding that.
Okay. David, that's enough about the Avengers beta. This game will come out next week. I would, if it was coming out at like $20 or $30, I would probably consider buying it then, because it seems like I'd probably get $20 or $30 of entertainment out of it, especially if I can get 1 or 2 other people to go along with me on it. But I'm not paying.
If it was a free-to-play game with character season passes, that could make
something
sense.
like that. But I am not paying full price for this thing at the moment, and I have too many other good things coming out that have significantly less budgets, but are going to absorb my interest way more. We're talking about Wasteland 3, Star Renegades, Crusader Kings 3. This is a time of strategy game plenty, and I am looking forward to it. The Star Renegades is not a strategy game, but I digress. David, that's enough about the Avengers beta. I'm going to let you take these next two things because you're the self-admitted DC whore.
That's fair. I did sit down and watch the DC fandom event this last weekend, which streamed on their website, and like it was really funny because YouTube live streams of the event kept getting pulled down, which made me laugh.
Really?
Yeah, it was so weird. But we did actually get some video games shown off. We finally got to look at Gotham Knights, which is the WB Montreal game that's been teased to all hell this whole time, and thank God I don't have to deal with their Twitter account anymore. So this is not taking place in the Arkham game universe. This is from the same team that made Arkham Origins, however, so temper your expectations heavily, in my opinion. It starts out with a cutscene of Bruce Wayne basically having a little video saying, "If you see this, I'm dead," and it's sent out to...
I think the entirety of the fan base went, yeah, right.
What do you mean? Bruce Wayne does all the time.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's not dead.
He's going to come back. Legitimately died a ton of times.
Yes, but they always bring him back, and they will bring him back by the end of this game. And I have a theory, which we'll talk about toward the end of this.
There's entire universes where he's dead and remain dead, and a lot of times when he comes back, it's because they're rebooting the comic. I just want to know that you know that.
No, that's fair enough. I didn't think about that when I was thinking about this, but I am almost positive he's not dead in this universe, and I can give you my theory as we get to it.
Okay. Anyway, moving on. So this is a game that is, as of now, starring Nightwing, Dick Grayson Nightwing, Red Robin, which would be Tim Drake,
yes,
Jason Todd's Red Hood, and Batgirl, Barbara Gordon.
Super excited to play Red Hood, by the way, because he's the closest thing we get to a Shadow these days.
He's also just got guns, and it showed in the trailer.
Yeah.
So they did show a gameplay reveal, whole kind of trailer-y trailer, and then after that there was a gameplay dive, which actually looked pretty cool. It definitely had the Arkham game vibe to it, with the combat looked kind of the same, the parry mechanics, but the characters looked different enough to be interesting. It is 2-player co-op confirmed. The trailer had that kind of fake player drop-in thing that the infamous Anthem demo did years ago, where Barbara Gordon's on a roof, or Batgirl's on a rooftop, and then it's Robin has joined the squad, and then Robin comes dropping in next to her.
Yeah,
and then
bullshit. That was actually happening in real time, by the way.
Sure, okay. Yeah, I don't know that any of that's real. Like, it really struck me as a vertical slice made for this live stream.
Yeah, I agree.
Gameplay reveal, but if they somehow manage to pull off that gameplay, it could be a pretty cool video game.
It could be.
It does have a lot of stuff going on with the Court of Owls. They mentioned that
real quick,
Court of Owls isn't the only bad guy, and there's going to be more stuff going on with it.
Who are the Court of Owls exactly? Because they're kind of... Apparently everyone was going nuts over the Court of Owls, but I am like... I know a lot about Batman lore, but I'm not a nut job about Batman, so I really don't know who the Court of Owls are.
Court of Owls is something from a more recent Batman series. I think it was introduced in the New 52, and it's, for your purposes, it's the Gotham City Illuminati.
Okay. That's
should
all
be
I need to know.
Enough. They're a secret organization that have existed since colonial times in Gotham City, and they're the ones in charge of the city, and they rule everything, and they do their own thing, and there was a whole storyline dealing with it, and Batman kind of got sucked into it, and some crazy shit went down, and stuff went kind of bad, and Court of Owls.
Okay. So one thing I do know about them, just based on my cursory reading of this, is that they have these assassins called Talons, right? They're like and they have a shit ton of them. If I recall from what I was reading, battalions are essentially brainwashed, right? They're like kids that get brainwashed and trained to become these killer elite things that get put in cold storage until they're needed again, right?
They're basically kidnapped children that are trained to be assassins.
Okay. This is why I don't think Bruce Wayne is dead in this game. Because
infiltrating the Court of Owls to somehow secretly rescue a bunch of new Robins.
Here is my theory. I think that the whole Talon angle is going to get played up to where you'll be doing a mission, and then a Talon shows up in the level. Think like the Big Daddy from BioShock. or Mr. X from Resident Evil 2. Here is your weird, unstoppable, slightly out of place villain meant to fuck you up while you're trying to do the regular mission going on. They'll have some narrative stuff assigned with them. They're going to go with the brainwashing angle, and toward the end, it's going to be like the super Talon, the one meant to take out the squad. And it's a brainwashed Bruce Wayne. That explosion that supposedly killed Bruce Wayne didn't kill him. The Court of Owls got him, reprogrammed him, and you're fighting Bruce Wayne as this reoccurring villain, and you don't know it's him until the end.
I mean, that does sound lazy enough to be a WB Montreal plot twist.
Court of Owls has a character like that, so that would make sense as Captain Ice Cold. So yeah, I think that's what, because they're not going to kill off Bruce Wayne in a video game. They're just not going to.
Yo,
I refuse to believe it.
If this is a Hush game, I will give them all the credit and be so down for that.
Now, see, that's, as a side tangent, I know that the new Batman movie has the Riddler as the main bad guy.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced the Riddler's the main bad guy. I think it's Hush.
Well,
based on that trailer, I'm watching that trailer with the whole lies thing and everything like that, and I'm like, this has Hush vibes to me, not Riddler. Like, the Riddler's just his cat's paw.
We'll see. We're talking about the video games, though, right now?
Hush got brought up. I had to mention Hush. While we're on that topic.
Anyway, so it looks stylish. I am really not holding my breath for it, though, because, again, this is the studio that made Arkham Origins, the absolute, like, trash of the Arkham games. The one that is still, to this day, broken on PC. And that's what never fixed because WB Montreal doesn't give a shit.
It's been never fixing. If WB Montreal would have went back and went, okay, hey, listen, we fucked up. They pulled the Hello Games, they fixed it. I'll be more fine with it. But there are PCs that game just will not run on. Period. End of story.
Yeah.
And they just eventually said, hey, we tried. Oh well, sorry.
But I mean, if they pull it off, they pull it off, and I will happily eat my hat and play it if it's rad. I just don't think it's going to be. We also saw though another DC-based game.
It is coming 2021, and it's going to be on current and next-gen consoles. I want to mention that because it's going to be a comparison to what we have coming up next.
Gotcha. And it's probably not going to do the upgrade thing.
Probably not.
A lot of games aren't doing that. Suicide Squad Killed the Justice League was the other thing shown off during the event. This is the Rocksteady video game that is in the Arkham universe, taking place in Metropolis.
One thing that struck me out the gate on this, not to interrupt you, is how much more bright and colorful this is compared to the other Arkham games.
Hell yeah.
And there is a visual distinct difference between Gotham Knights and Suicide Squad, and I love it.
Yeah, this game does not look anything like Gotham Knights because it doesn't have that same kind of vibe or overlay on top of it.
This looks like if Batman made Sunset Overdrive.
Yeah, and it's definitely got a lot of humor going for it. I pretty much already in just because it has King Shark in it. And Rocksteady's making it.
How long has King Shark existed? Because I'd never heard of this guy until like 6 months ago.
What? Dude, King Shark is OG. He's great.
Is he like Egghead? Or
King Shark.
Or Polka Dot Man?
King Shark made his first appearance in Superboy number 9 in 1994.
Okay, so he is newer. He's not new, but he is newer. Okay. King Shark. I like King Shark. I really love who they got to play Captain Boomerang, by the way.
Who's Captain Boomerang?
The Australian guy in the trailer. The one with the boomerang?
No. I know who Captain Boomerang is. Who is the person you are excited about?
Oh, I have no idea. I just like his voice actor. I just like how they.
I thought it was someone like famous that I somehow didn't place.
No.
During the trailer.
I just like how he is in that trailer, and I immediately went, "I'm being. That's who I am. I'm Captain Boomerang. I'm playing Captain Boomerang."
Captain Boomerang's great. Harley has her Harley vibe. Deadshot's got a Deadshot vibe. They had this kind of silly little interaction with Will Arnett post the trailer, and had to get told that their job is to take out an evil Justice League, and they have to fight Superman and everybody. And,
it's even better than that. If you recall the trailer, they don't even tell them who the target is until Superman shows up. So Brainiac is still in the trailer. Brainiac is, I think Brainiac anyways. It looks Brainiac-y. I don't think they ever say it in the trailer, but it's got like the Brainiac 3-eye thing. Attacking Metropolis. They're there to kill some priority alpha target. We don't know what it is. And then as they're murdering all these aliens or confirmed humans or whatever you want to call them, Superman comes in and what looks to be like rescuing some helicopter pilot. Though if you look in the background, you can actually see him blowing up those helicopters. And then he grabs the helicopter pilot and like heat visions him down. They go, ah, fuck, when they realize that they have to kill him. The trailer is real good. Better than the Gotham Knights trailer, in my opinion. I think it captured the soul of that game. Let's see. Captain Ice Cold says, love how they made Boomerang a speedster. Makes sense for them to go toe-to-toe with the Flash. I'd be curious to know about that, because Captain Boomerang doesn't have fast powers, if I recall. He is literally just a dude of the boomerang.
I mean, that's kind of the joke of the Suicide Squad, is that they don't have powers.
They're all B-tier people.
They're just a bunch of assholes.
Let's see. King Shark looks weird in the trailer. You should see King Shark fight Gorilla Grodd in The Flash. He's huge. Because I have no comparison for King Shark. I know who Gorilla Grodd is, but I've not heard about King Shark until like 6 months ago. So
I still love King Shark from the Harley Quinn cartoon. He's pretty great.
What do you think about this one? I know that you seem to be... Let's go back to the Gotham Knights thing. If it wasn't WB Montreal, would you be excited for Gotham Knights?
Hell yeah.
Okay.
WB Montreal is the reason that I'm hesitant to be so hyped about Gotham Knights, because I think that's a cool concept, and I would play that game, and I'm really interested in Court of Owls being in a video game. That sounds rad to me.
Okay. What do you think about Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League? Because I'll say right out the gate, this is exactly what I said it was hope was going to be.
This looks more fun as a video game.
It does look a lot fun. Oddly enough,
in tone, and it's probably going to be more comedic and a bit less serious, but I don't really know how it plays. I know that Gotham Knights is going to play like an Arkham game, but I'm interested in Suicide Squad because, I mean, what does King Shark do? And can I bite the heads off of people?
It's 1 to 4 player co-op. So it's going to be already like 2-player co-op. Okay, I can see us doing we're going to stealth around and capture people like in the Arkham games. But once you get 4 people and it's going to be far more bright and colorful. It's definitely going to be chaos. Additionally, for some reason, you know what this just reminds me for some reason. I think it's because of King Shark. Do you remember an old Xbox original game called Brute Force?
Brute Force? I haven't heard that name in years.
For some reason, I saw this and I immediately went, this is going to be next-gen Brute Force. And I couldn't tell you why. But, like, the archetypes match, right? You have, like, your weird mutant thing, which is King Shark, and then, like, your super serious guy, which is going to be Deadshot, but was also, like, the main character on Brute Force. And then you have, like, the angsty woman who's, like, psychotic, which is, like, what's her name in Brute Force, and then you have the other guy.
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't know. I'm just excited for it. Now, the only bummer part of the Suicide Squad game is that this one was confirmed to be next gen. So it's going to be on PC, PS5, Xbox Series X, and it's not coming out till 2022.
Correct. So 2 years on this one.
Gotham Knights is next year, and the Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League game is coming out the year after that. So it'll be a while before we actually get to see
that. That means
game.
It's going to be a long-ass time since Rocksteady actually released the game. I want to say 8 years.
Right? So
a long time.
I really hope that this game isn't delayed. And I know that, bad game delayed can be good, but a good game or bad, whatever. That one quote. But they've been working on it for so damn long. Like, I just hope that it's pretty far along and they're doing well.
Let's take the developers out of it. Which one would you be more excited for?
I would be excited for Gotham Knights until I saw the Suicide Squad trailer.
Okay.
Like I was excited for Gotham Knights until I saw the Suicide Squad trailer.
Like I said, take the developers out of it. Just
as cool as Gotham Knights look, I have played 3.5 Arkham games.
Fair enough. It is a formula that not only has been done repeatedly in Arkham itself, but also has wormed its way into multiple games. So
Arkham Asylum became like the go-to gold standard for 3D action game combat,
and it's a good system. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. It works great.
Good.
But
it's a bit tired now, though.
I've played that game. I'm excited for it because I'm into playing that game for the story. Suicide Squad I want to play because I want to see what the hell it is.
Yeah, I'm more... We know what Gotham Knights is. We saw gameplay of that. We have not seen any gameplay on Suicide Squad, so there is a big question mark there.
So I'm hoping maybe WB delivers next year, and that game's awesome, and I get to play that and enjoy that and have a whole year to get my time in it.
Now,
and then I get to play a new game?
What if this? One of the things that made the Arkham games so good, in my opinion, was the fact that they brought Kevin Conroy's Batman, Mark Hamill's Joker.
Mm-hmm.
They brought the cast from the Batman anime series. What if Superman makes his appearance and it's voiced by Tim Daly? Like DCU Superman. Or not DCU, DCAU Superman.
I mean, they could just hire Andrea Romano to do the entire voice cast and bring everybody in.
Hope so, right?
Yeah, and just have everybody come in from Justice League and like Teen Titans and Young Justice and everything else.
I would love to see them keep that train going of all the Andrea Romano casted people, but we'll see if that works.
Mm-hmm.
Let us know what you think about this DC games announced in the comments down below. I do want to get other people's opinions on it because I went into this knowing more or less what David was going to feel based on the whole WB Montreal stuff, but I want to know what you guys out there think. All right, David.
Also, quick shout out to chat. I agree that King Shark in the Flash was completely ridiculous and was the last character I ever expected to see in a live-action TV show.
Man, the DC TV shows, they really are the 90s versions of the 60s Batman. They know what they are.
Great Berlanti, bro.
David, last week, we had Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War officially revealed. And that's what this topic was originally going to be about. Hey, we got
surprised. It's going to be called Cold War. Doritos. Yeah. Thanks, guys.
It was supposed to be set in the 80s. It is set in the 80s. It's going to be a direct sequel to Black Ops 1. You play the same characters again, dealing with all kinds of spy shit at the height of the Cold War. Cool. We were going to talk about it. I was going to spend a couple minutes on it and then move all the way to something else. But then, today, and this is via PC Gamer. I'll have the article linked down below. Black Ops Cold War revealed. The trailer has already been censored. Let me tell you why. Now, last week, this is from the article. Last week, Activision confirmed the upcoming Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War with a video built around the real-world interview of defector Yuri Brezhnev, in which he described a four-stage Soviet strategy dedicated to ending the American dominance in the world. By the way, Yuri Brezhnev, love this fucker. Look him up on YouTube. He's an ex-KGB agent. He defected to the U.S., and there's this very famous interview where he talks about the way the communists will destroy America is from within through a generation of indoctrination. Like, listen to it. It's really cool. Listen to this guy. And that's how the trailer for this starts. And then they show a flash of a bunch of stuff that happened during the Cold War. So you had like the Berlin Wall falling, you had Tiananmen Square happening. I think you had some images from the Bay of Pigs. A whole bunch of quick flashes of Cold War events. And that was the original trailer. Then, earlier this week, the video was quietly deleted and replaced with roughly half the length. So it just was suddenly cut down to about half the size. Activision gave no indication as to why the first trailer was removed, or even that it happened. But according to the South China Morning Post, it's because the original video contained a brief clip of footage from the 1989 Tiananmen Square protests. I believe these are the protests where that dude stands in front of that line of tanks. And, you know, he's like just standing there holding the bag and the tanks running down. It's a very famous picture. It's a very famous thing. It's a very famous protest that happened in '89. And if you try to Google it or whatever,
famous everywhere but China.
Yeah, in China they heavily censor that shit. They just scrubbed everything on it. It doesn't exist. The video was first replaced with the one that had the clip blacked out. So they showed another clip that was of equal length, but they just had that scene specifically blacked out. And then the whole thing was just replaced with the new trailer right now. The original video is still available on YouTube from channels like IGN and GameSpot, and comparing them, you can not only see that the Tiananmen Square stuff has been taken out, but the Brezhnemev's interview, including his breakdown of the four-point strategy communists had to infiltrate American society and corrupt it from within, has also been cut, because it's highly critical of what China actually does in real life as well, too. David.
Yes.
First of all, I am just tickled in some humorous fashion at the fact that a game about Black Ops Cold War, which dealt with all this weird secrecy and censorious shit, itself got censored. There's something ironic about that. Second,
is it even a little bit surprising to you?
That's where the second part comes in. Because the people who make Call of Duty is fucking Activision.
Hey.
Let us not forget that this is the same fucking company that banned someone playing Hearthstone because he said free Hong Kong. Let's not forget that despite the massive backlash to it, they only reduced his ban to 6 months. Let's not forget that when BlizzCon happened and that bag of dicks, J. Alec Brack, or whatever his name is, the president of Blizzard, came out to address the situation, he didn't bother to mention what the situation was, didn't bother to mention who the player was suspended for, didn't mention China once in his shit. Even if, let's say, because sometimes trailers get cut, so you'll have like your reveal trailer and it's 90 minutes long, and then you chop it down to 30 seconds for advertising reason, because spending money on 90 seconds of advertising costs a lot more than 30 seconds of advertising. Let's say even if this trailer was edited down to be 30 seconds to fit that time, how... It's Activision. We know this is their fucking game. They deliberately remove this shit to bow down to Chinese interests. And I am so fucking incensed at this. And I know nothing's going to change. I get that I'm screaming at the wind on this.
Mm-hmm. Activision likes that money.
But it is important that we call them out on this and apply whatever little pressure that we can as often as we can. Because that is the only way. I mean, that's what broke the loot box. Enough people started bitching about it.
I don't think enough people bitching about China, though, is going to work the way you think it's going to work.
It's going to take way more people bitching about China. Because they will eventually go, this shit is too costly for us. But you
Only if
have
it actually
to
costs them anything.
You have to hit that level of, and this is why I hate to say it, but what's going to have to happen is that you're going to have to start like having people with power to make laws looking into this shit. And I don't necessarily want to go down that route either, but you need to use the threat of that power.
What's the law? Here's a law that says that video game companies aren't allowed to self-censor their games to appeal to...
what you can do, I didn't say there is a law against it. I said people who have the power to make laws. There's no law against...
saying, even hypothetically, if they were to create such a law, how would it even read?
We're going to put a 25% tariff on anything that deals with this kind of... that feels like it's kowtowing to China or something. I'm not the person to think of this.
Okay.
I'll fully admit right now, I don't have the answer here. But that's how you get governments, that's how you get corporations to go, okay, maybe we fucked up, is the threat of the government stepping in. You don't want the government to step in, though. You want to hold it over their head.
It's weird to me.
But you don't want to pull the trigger on it.
Now, I know this is we can be mad at Activision, and remain mad at Activision for just the continuous shit they're pulling. But they also let the original trailer go out in the world, and they had to have known that this would happen.
From what I understand...
You're saying that no one in charge watched the trailer first and saw that there was going to be a little bit of China in there in the trailer
what I understand.
For a quick second, even though the last time they had a game that did this exact same thing, they had to pull that shit down for the exact same reason. They can't remember that.
From what I understand is that they weren't thinking about it until someone higher up at the Chinese authority said, what are you doing here? We don't like this. Get rid of it. But that goes a little bit more into the conspiratorial side, so that's why I didn't necessarily want to bring it up. But that's how that would have played out, is that someone made a call somewhere and said, take this out. Like the Battlefront loot box thing. Star Wars Battlefront didn't, to go back in, Star Wars Battlefront 2 didn't get rid of the loot box and star cards because we were bitching about it. They got rid of them because someone who actually had power, aka Disney, placed a call and said, what the fuck are you doing?
Well, they got a call direct from the mouse himself.
Yeah. That's how that actually played out. We both know that's how that played out. Similar situation here. Someone who has the authority to shut their game down in China called and went, you need to take these out or it's not going to be sold in China.
It's just ridiculous.
That's how that stuff happens. That's why Homefront, remember that game Homefront? That's why Homefront's original antagonists were from China, until China went, wait a minute, we're going to start banning everything that you guys do, and you won't be able to say anything in there, and all of a sudden it became North Korea. The highly implausible North Korean invasion of California.
Classic, dude.
Or even Top Gun, the new Top Gun movie. How they took fucking Tom Cruise's Taiwan patch off his jacket. They digitally removed it.
Mm-hmm.
Same, or Red Dawn, the new Red Dawn movie. That's what happens, is that these people go, I have an idea. The studio goes, okay, cool. Someone in the Chinese approval agency, whatever you want to call it, goes, that's not allowed. And they go, okay, we'll remove it. And they remove it because it's too costly for them to keep it in there. What needs to happen is the opposite effect. We need to start making people aware of this shit. So eventually, hopefully, the goal is someone over here goes, we're going to make it too costly for you to kowtow to that. That's how that needs to work. That's why I bring this up. I understand, David, that you and I alone are not going to change this at all. There's nothing.
Which is ridiculous. They should definitely be listening to us.
Absolutely. They absolutely should be.
They don't respect our power.
There's nothing you and I can say that's going to change their idea at all. But hey, one person might hear it, and they might start talking about it. And then someone else might hear it, and they might start talking about it. And if you get enough of this shit going, then you start seeing some things happening. So I could be the only person screaming in the wind about this. But I will be that lone person screaming in the wind about it. And it could just go completely ignored. But god damn it, I feel it's important to mention it.
Yeah, it's fair.
That is how that's how I feel about it. So yeah. Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. What was going to be a quick, hey, this has been officially announced, has turned into yet another fuck Activision. Oh, and by the way, fuck Blizzard, why we're talking about it. And yes, yep. I fully realize I'm still going to buy Diablo 4 when it comes out.
See, luckily, I have no interest in playing Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War because Modern Warfare came out, and that game seems pretty good. And this is the Treyarch Call of Duty game.
I've never liked the Black Ops game. I have no interest in buying this one either.
And I don't need to play it. Although Captain Ice Cold in chat bets $20 that the Cold War is going to feel like it has massive chunks cut from its campaign because they're just going to carve those sections off and not invest in fixing the story.
The thing is, to address that, I don't think the actual story was going to focus much on China anyways, because it's very much being set up as a Soviet versus U.S. fight.
Mm-hmm.
They just were showing clips of things that happened in the 80s, and when it comes to political events in the 80s, you don't get that much bigger outside of the fall of the Berlin Wall, the collapse of the Soviet Empire, and the Tiananmen Square protests.
Yeah, but it could still be... There is a bit cut from it because the game may focus on U.S.-Soviet issues, but I'm sure they would have mentioned a lot of other things that are happening
Possibly.
At the time.
That's also a possibility too.
If you get to a cutscene and it has like a jarring, weird cut in it, I bet you find it.
Yeah, Mason, it's just like that one time in 2004 when Gore did not win. In
or
China,
it cuts to like a location screen and you like something else is happening.
They do the fictitious country thing.
Oh yeah,
like Far Cry does, how they always make like a fictitious country rather than saying this is Bolivia.
Makes sense.
But yeah, that's how this shakes out. I was going somewhere else with it, and I forgot where I was going. So, unfortunately, that's that. Do take a look at the Yuri Bezmenov thing, by the way. It is a fascinating interview where he talks about subversion and bringing down a country from within. I highly recommend everyone take a look at that and just look at it. Additionally, while on topic, while we're here, let's just go ahead and make sure we're absolutely banned in China. Free Hong Kong.
Oh, yeah, free Hong Kong.
Taiwan is its own separate country.
Oh.
Also, your leader looks like Winnie the Pooh. Got him.
But that's spooky. Winnie the Pooh, man, such a friendly character.
Yeah, with the heart of a serial killer.
That's just
and
crazy.
That doesn't, like, if you were to, David, if you were to tell me the backstory of Winnie the Pooh was that he ate 100 children, I would not bat an eye at that. That seems like it'd be up his MO.
Is he just constantly eating honey because the sweetness helps him try to erode the darkness in his soul?
Yes. It's the Ted Bundy thing, right? Ted Bundy seemed to be a nice guy, but deep down was the heart of a serial killer. That's Winnie the Pooh. That motherfucker's got some repressed rage. You know he's got repressed rage.
I don't really love this anymore. I'm over it, actually, and I want to change the subject.
David, by all means, lead us on to the next topic.
Okay, this story's from Bloomberg. Nintendo plans on an upgraded Switch console and some major games coming for 2021. Nintendo Company plans to debut an upgraded model of its Switch next year, along with a lineup of new games. People familiar with the matter said, exceeding 2020's holiday spotlight to rival devices from Sony and Microsoft. The specifications of the new machine have yet to be finalized, though the Kyoto-based company has looked into including more computing power and 4K high-definition graphics. I don't think
I don't need a 4K Switch.
I I would just say if the Switch can output 4K, don't expect it to do what you think it's going to do because it's still a Switch, and most of the games made for the Switch are still probably going to be made for the old Switch. Like I don't know.
I doubt there's going to be any works only on Switch next. I doubt there's going to be anything like that.
The new 3DS eventually got games that were only for new 3DS, but it just seems like a bad idea.
Switch
like
is still too new.
Either release a new console or you don't break your player base. Anyway, the release of the upgraded Switch would be coupled with or followed by a slew of games from Nintendo itself and related outside studios, people said. The focus on next year's pipeline explains Nintendo's relatively quiet software release schedule so far this year. Basically, the story is just saying that they're not trying to rock the boat during a big console release cycle, and they're just kind of saving all their energy so that they can try and make 2021 the year of Nintendo.
I can see that. I can absolutely see that being the case. There's no point in going up against brand new consoles when you really don't have a new console to show. That said, completely seeding the holiday season seems asinine to me. I'm shocked they don't have at least one or two big games announced for this holiday. There are rumors of the Super Mario 3D collection, which would be all your 3D Mario games making the rounds. That, I get the feeling, is very likely to happen. For that, probably be their big Nintendo November release, if not October. You also have like Pikmin 3, I think, around the corner or something like that. So it's going to be stuff like that.
Yep. But any big Nintendo games that we haven't seen yet, don't expect.
But they're not going to drop Breath of the Wild 2 or Metroid Prime 4 before next year. That's not going to happen. And I get the logic of them saying, hey, next gen's this year? Fuck it. Let's just not worry about it. But they're not going to completely abandon this year either. That makes no sense at all. None.
No.
And the Switch is selling stupidly well right now.
That being said, I don't want a 4K Switch. I just want a Switch that can run games at higher frame rates.
I don't need a 4K Switch. I'm fine with higher frame rate. Absolutely. The frame rate is you can always have more frame rate.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't need a 4K Switch. Additionally, like you were saying,
or I want games that run in what's it even called? Docked mode to run better. The fact that the handheld mode runs better than docked mode for most video games always makes me laugh because what's the point of the dock, right? But I know it's just basically a charger with a HDMI out.
Yeah.
So if it could run everything equally as good in all situations, that would be pretty sweet.
That would be nice, but they're not going. Even if it's a 4K device, the games won't be 4K. They'll be upscaled to a 4K setting because the games will be designed to work on a regular Switch as well. Because they won't be making a brand new console.
Maybe you can stream 4K YouTube from an upgraded Nintendo Switch.
Maybe.
Keeping in mind that it still doesn't have access to like Netflix or anything like that.
Possibly, but also remember, like I said, it would just be upscaled to 4K. It won't actually be 4K because it needs to still be able to run on the original Switch as well.
Or maybe we'll get some 4K shovelware games, with their completely unmanaged bullshit of an eShop.
That's everything at this point. As much as I used to... You know what it is? We can blame the App Store for this, the iOS App Store for this.
Hell yeah. 100% their fault.
For their walled garden bullshit that they like to tout, that is an unmitigated disaster of fucking terrible shovelware everywhere. If one game is even slightly popular, within 6 hours, you have 100 clones of it. And what happened is that was doing very well for Apple because, as we know, they take a 30% cut of everything sold on that store. So they don't care what sells as long as something sells. And then Steam looked at that and went, let's take that model and run with it with Steam Greenlight. And then Steam went, you know what? You know what sells really well in certain circles? Not too many people buy them, but those who do buy them spend a lot on them. Adult games. So now you have like this plethora of just total generic shit on the platform. And if you're not even good enough to do something with like Unity tools and throw something just bogus up there like Digital Homicide was doing for a long time, then you can at least add some tits to it and make it an anime waifu simulator, and then it will sell. And then what happened is that since Steam did
that's my entire retirement plan.
Yeah, same here. since Steam did it, and Steam is the name when it comes to digital distribution, even amongst consoles at this point, every other console now does it, including Switch, including PlayStation. I don't know so much about the Microsoft one because, admittedly, neither one of us are big Microsoft guys, so we don't really go too far into that, so I couldn't tell you the state of that. But we do have a Switch and PlayStation, and those stores are just as full as garbage as well.
Ooh. This is going to be my favorite linked tangent of all time. You know who does have a pretty decently curated marketplace? That it's available on your computer that you could download right now and not have to sift through a bunch of stupid bullshit?
Oh.
Epic Games.
It is decently curated. It does not have a bunch of bullshit on there. You're right. It is not the easiest to browse. The Epic Game Store is not all that easy to just randomly go through and look through, but it is curated.
Sorry, I had to do it. Come on, it's right there.
All right. Well, since that topic has been breached and we're talking about Apple, let's go ahead and move right into the next story here. If you remember last week, David, we were talking about the great epic Apple-Google slap fight that's been going over Fortnite. I don't want to get into any of that again because we spent like 35 minutes talking about it last week, and check out last week's show for the details. All you need to know is that Epic is suing Apple. Apple said, fuck you, yanked Fortnite off the App Store, and then said, hey, we're going to take away your access to all the development tools as well. Well, lawsuits ensued, and we have a slight temporary ruling. This comes via IGN. Court rules Apple doesn't have to immediately reinstate Fortnite on its App Store. From the article, Apple has taken an early victory in its legal battle with Epic Games as the court ruled it doesn't have to immediately reinstate Fortnite. U.S. District Judge Yvonne Gonzalez-Rogers made the ruling late Monday night, but it wasn't a total loss for Epic Games as she also granted Epic's request for a temporary order blocking Apple from limiting the game developer's ability to provide Unreal Engine key graphics technology for other apps. This was also something, oddly enough, that Microsoft was fighting for in court on behalf of Fortnite, because they went up and said, hey, if the judge does not let Epic keep their Unreal tools, then it's going to actually affect our games. So if a judge said, okay, Fortnite can't get put back on the store, but Apple can't yank away their access to game development tools.
Yep.
Rogers was very clear in saying, however, that this case isn't a slam dunk for either Apple or Epic Games, and that these are temporary rulings and will not dictate the final outcome of the litigation. There will be another hearing on September 28th, my birthday, to discuss a longer-term solution. So that is where we're at right now.
The battle continues.
Fortnite, not on the App Store, but Apple doesn't get to pull their access to all the development tools like they were threatening.
Yep.
And that's just where we're at right now. And that is the holding pattern it's in.
Now we get to keep reporting on that for the next year and a half.
At least for the next month. Let's see. David, you want to take this one? You actually are the one that brought this to my attention first. So I don't know if you have more of an interest than I do in it.
All right. So this story is from Eurogamer. But Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 fired their lead writer, Brian Mitsoda, and the creative director.
Always a good sign.
Right? So Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 lead narrative designer Brian Mitsoda and creative director Kai Clooney have been fired. This was on the 26th. From the action RPG, with the former saying the decision by developer Hardsuit Labs and publisher Paradox Interactive came as a shock and that he had never been led to believe that he hadn't succeeded in his role. Keeping in mind that this Brian has actually not only wrote the first game, but written 90-some-odd% of the second game.
Yeah.
Like, the story is done and penned and good to go on this game, and they were just kind of fired.
Yeah. Not only is he responsible for the vast majority of the narrative heavy work on this game, but he is responsible for the entire lore. I don't want to say the entire lore because it's all based off the World of Darkness role-playing game. Mm-hmm. But he's responsible for the lore of the very first game. So and this is supposed to be a direct sequel. So it's all from his brain.
Yeah. He is the continuity.
Yeah.
Anyway, going back to the article. A shakeup of Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 development team was hinted at earlier the month when Hardsuit and Paradox announced a delay to the game's release, saying that it'll launch in 2021 to ensure the best player experience possible. Its statement also made references to organizational changes within the team that it would share at a later date. Paradox and Hardsuit have followed up to that statement with a new message. In it, they confirmed that Brian Mitsoda and Kai are no longer part of the development team, and that this was a joint decision made by the leadership of Hardsuit Labs and Paradox Interactive. The fun part is it's a joint decision not made by any of the people fired, but by the publisher and the developer.
Yeah, they make it sound like it was an amicable parting with that sentence, don't they? It's like, no, it was a joint decision. They left.
It's a joint decision between your boss and your boss's boss.
Yeah.
That's not a joint decision. Anyway, Mitsoda notably served as designer and writer on the original Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, which, man, that's a long title. And his involvement in the sequel has helped lend credibility to the project among longtime fans. Quote from Mitsoda, this came as a shock is underselling it. I've worked on Bloodlines 2 for almost 5 years. The story and main cast was initially conceived in my living room. I helped develop the pitch for Hardsuit Labs and helped pitch the project to Paradox in Las Vegas, I've been in charge of the narrative since the beginning, working long days and sometimes weekends to deliver a successor to Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, and I've never been led to believe that I hadn't succeeded. So, completely ridiculous. Another, again, story of just kind of weird game dev woes, and someone who didn't really seem to need to be fired getting fired.
Yeah, I don't... Normally, David, I've heard at least scuttlebutt behind something. I have some rumors. I can say, hey, I heard that this is what happened.
Heard he did this, or heard that there's a problem with this. But
I've got fucking no clue on this one.
Now, here's the part that I'm wondering. Is this a contract issue? Was he supposed to get paid X amount if the game did well or do something like this? And they're just saying, okay, thanks for all your help. Get fired. And now we just saved a bunch of money on that guy?
No idea. That could have been it.
We just saved a bunch of money on car insurance by firing our lead narrative designer?
By firing Mitsoda. It could be contract disputes. He could have said something they didn't like. He could have been causing problems. They might have just said, fuck this guy. We don't like him. They could be going...
It's just crazy to me that the guy... the fact that he was in the pitch room to get this to the publisher and he was still fired, that's insane. To me, that's one of the core members of the game development, right?
Yeah.
If you're in it at that level, it's insane.
Something fucking happened. And I have no idea what it is. I almost find... I don't want to call him a liar, but him saying, I have no idea why I was fired, that could be true. But I don't know if it is. Because Paradox and Hardsuit Labs aren't going to say why he's fired. Period. End of story. It could have been a justifiable firing, and they're never going to say anything on it because of lawyers. Lawyers exist, and that's why they're not going to say anything on it. I don't want to... I believe Mitsoda at face value on this. He probably doesn't know what happened. But I have a hard time thinking that he was just fired for no cause. There had to have been something somewhere. He might not be aware of what that cause is, but there is a reason, and I'm willing to bet it's more than just money, and I just can't place my finger on why.
Who knows?
It could be something as, fuck it, we're going to rewrite the entire story because we don't like where it is.
I mean, that's...
Who knows?
I guess you could delay a game for that. That sounds fun.
I don't know.
It's not like it's mostly done and they've already done animation rigging and anything else.
I will
have all the voice lines already read.
I will say that the development of this game has been a clusterfuck.
Yes.
This is not the first problem this game has run into.
I mean, they've been working on it for 5 years.
This was already not going to be a... I know we were bashing the AAA game earlier with the Avengers talk, but this was already not going to have that level of polish to begin with. It's not like Paradox is a big money studio. I mean, I love Paradox games, Hearts of Iron, Stellaris, the upcoming Crusader Kings. These are games that are played on this channel multiple times, but they are not what I would consider a huge, big budget game developer. So this game was already going into the B tier category of games. I keep hearing shit like this, and I do not have high hopes for Bloodlines 2 at all.
I don't know. Guess we'll have to wait and see, and we have to wait a whole year to find out.
No, and I wouldn't even be surprised if it slips to 2022, but we'll see, right? As you said.
Because it's not we don't even have a quarter release timing for 2021. It's just nebulous next year.
David, there were 2 random games announced over the past 24 hours I want to bring up. First of all, we have the expansion to Guild Wars 2, End of Dragons. For those who don't play Guild Wars 2, the dragons are kind of like the omnipresent big bad of the series. So to have the expansion named End of Dragons kind of seems like they're wrapping up that storyline and maybe open up to something else. So that is exciting for Guild Wars 2 players. And then Cobra Kai, the video game. Cobra Kai, the sequel to the Karate Kid that I didn't know that we needed, but clearly we really wanted.
The only thing that has come out of the paid premium YouTube service that is worth anyone's time.
And is coming to Netflix this week now, I believe, as well.
Oh my god, finally I can rewatch it. That's exciting.
It is legitimately
I
good.
watched the whole show in like a 2-week binge of a YouTube Red trial.
Yeah. Cobra Kai is is shockingly
Cobra
good.
Kai is better than the Karate Kid.
Yes. And that's hard to say, but it is.
It's not even hard to say.
Fair enough. But yeah, I highly recommend you take a look at Cobra Kai, and its video game adaptation is coming soon. It's playing like a beat 'em up, it looks like, so think Final Fight.
Yep.
Upcoming events, we have Gamescom's opening night live on August 27th at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Very likely we'll be doing maybe a live react on here, so keep an eye out on this channel for that. David, I'm going to make my prediction.
If things were different this year, there's a totally real chance that I would be in Germany for Gamescom right now.
Oh, really? That's unfortunate.
Yep. Woe is me.
David, for the longest time, my prediction has been there's going to be a Dead Space announced this year, even though that was always a dream. Mm-hmm. That is not this year's dream. This year's dream is another game. A game that has more of a chance of actually showing up. I am convinced that this year, and I've made this claim multiple times this year already, been wrong every single time.
Yeah.
I am convinced that this week we will have an announcement of XCOM 3. It is time. We had Chimera Squad show off something earlier. Firaxis has to be working on something. It's time for an XCOM 3.
Oh boy.
I am putting no money on XCOM 3 being announced this Thursday.
I'm sure. It'll totally happen.
But, David, this Thursday is still 2 or 3 days away from now. I have the attention span of a gnat, and I need to be occupied between now and then. So, what can I keep entertained with as I wait to be disappointed yet again?
Okay, so new releases, and this is going to be a bit of a lightning round because there's actually just a ton of stuff.
There's a ton of shit.
It's kind of fall-ish, even though it doesn't feel even a little bit like it. Anyway, we've got Giraffe and Annika coming out for PS4, Switch, and Xbox. This is an action-adventure game starring a cat-eared Annika on a grand quest on the island of Spica. It's a 3D adventure and rhythm action genre mesh with a crazy like manga-inspired world, and it's very pretty and its music, and really gives me vibes of all of those Altair games, the ones I can never pronounce.
Yes, it does look like that.
That is kind of the visual style. So if that means anything to you,
like that.
That's what I got. No Straight Roads comes out for PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. Keep in mind this is an Epic exclusive PC release. This is a action-adventure rhythm game. Start a rock band and end the EDM empire in No Straight Roads, a rock and action-adventure that mashes together rhythm-infused third-person combat and a kick-ass soundtrack.
No, this man, we haven't had one of these since Revolution X.
Dude, this actually looks kind of entertaining. It's like a platformy action game where you're playing as like a guitarist and a drummer who's on a quest to destroy the evil EDM empire. I
can get behind that. I actually have to take a look at that. That reminds me, there's another game coming out that deals with like, it's a platformer that you're a musician called, oh fuck, I just had it, The Artful Escape, I think it's called.
Maybe.
It was out at E3, not last year, not this year, but the year before.
I just know that Techno tried to defile the metal, but it was stricken down to the ground. Street Power Soccer comes out for PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. Thank you. This is an arcade soccer game. This is, you remember NBA Street? Or NFL Street, or any of those.
Stop there. I was like, what?
Okay, how about NFL Blitz? I don't know. I'm trying to think of a thing that'll make this make sense to you. It's like that very arcadey version of a sports game. That's Street Power Soccer.
Okay.
It's just the soccer version of that. So it does have like legitimate football players in it or soccer players in it, but it's like a playground mode and it's more kind of slapstick over the top.
Can I play that Zidane asshole and like get red carded out of my final game by headbutting someone?
I don't think you're gonna have red cards. This is
okay.
You're playing in a park. This is street rules. I don't know.
All
anyway,
right.
Since a Cyberpunk Ghost Story is out on PC this week, this is the description of this game is so much better than this game looks. Full disclosure. A 2.5D horror game inspired by Clock Tower and Fatal Frame, mixing cyberpunk with traditional Cantonese folklore. With careful attention to pacing, atmosphere, and storytelling, Sense hopes to return to the horror genre to its roots by celebrating visceral horror and the slow, fearful creep of dead. That sounds pretty tight, but this looks to be an anime titty waifu game.
I got no problem with the idea of it. I just don't think it's going to be that good. If you want a good cyberpunk horror story, play Observer from Bloober
It just
Team.
makes me laugh because on the Steam page for this game, it has a disclosure that this is not an adult-oriented title and there's no nudity in it. But the fact that your character designs lead people to believe that it is. Also out this week, Vader Immortal comes out on PSVR.
I swear this fucking thing came out last year.
I thought it came out 2 weeks ago. I don't know. We're going to talk about it again. You play as Vader. It's in VR. As far as I can tell, it's a stand in place, wave your hands around, be Vader-ish kind of VR game. Roll for the Galaxy hits PC. This is a board game where you roll a crap ton of dice. I've played that game actually a few times. I think it's pretty fun. This is a dice game of building space empires for 2 to 5 players. Your dice represent your population, whom you direct to develop new tech. You settle worlds. You ship goods. Whoever manages their stuff the best wins.
A classic board game. A good board game. But a dice game on the PC.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that, because I like rolling dice. The Suicide of Rachel Foster hits PS4 and Xbox One this week. This is an adventure walking sim. This has very good reviews on PC. It's been on Steam, I think, for a little bit. So it's about a young woman who's coming back to a family hotel after years and finds herself trapped with ghosts from her past and an old cellular telephone as the only way to unveil a terrible truth. A lot of the stuff I've read in this is that it's very, very positively reviewed and that it explores a lot of very mature concepts in a kind of respectful, responsible way. So it's a kind of deep, not casual, gonna go have a happy fun time adventure game. It's more a exploration about psyche and spooky stuff. So have fun. Jenny Leclue, Detective Vu, is a real name of a video game coming out for Switch this week. This is an adventure game focused on exploration, story, and character, featuring dozen characters meet, mysteries and puzzles to solve across a vibrant atmospheric world. This looks to be like a comedy-styled adventure game that's about being a detective. Moon comes out for Switch. This is a game that was released in Japan in 1997. Did you ever play Moon?
No, it was an RPG that actually never came out of that
It is
area.
not an RPG. You are automatically incorrect.
Wow, I thought this was an
Moon
RPG.
Is an anti-RPG, as it was described originally in 1997. Finally translated to English, releasing now. Have you ever felt it odd that the heroes of RPGs go around opening villagers' closets and stealing from them? Where they travel the world indiscriminately killing all monsters they meet? This game looks at the RPGs we all know and love from a new perspective. Dude, I believe
Undertale took some liberties with
I was just going to say, I had no idea that Undertale actually was an original, because everything I read about this game, holy shit. You play as a guy that got pulled into a weird video game world, and you're following around after an RPG hero who's indiscriminately killing everything on the countryside, and you're helping to like find the souls of defeated monsters, and you level up by love.
Yeah, I've heard nothing but amazing things about this from people who have played it.
Yep, and anyway, that's out. Tell Me Why is out on Xbox One and PC. This is the Don't Nod, a new adventure game. So the remind me of the name of those games. Thank you. Life is Strange team.
One cool thing about this, while I don't like the Life is Strange games, they're not for me. I will say that while Tell Me Why is episodic, I believe they're releasing the episodes like every 2 weeks apart.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Which, if you're going to do it that way. I think, double take a look at that before you hold me to that, but I believe they're releasing them every 2 weeks apart.
All right. Hypnospace Outlaw, PS4, Xbox One, Switch. This is overwhelmingly positive on Steam. This is a 1990s sim point-and-click adventure game. Greetings, Enforcer, and thank you for enlisting the Hypnospace Patrol Department. As the world falls into its slumber, Hypnospace becomes a bustling global village. These virtual streets aren't going to police themselves. You're basically flying around in like a fake 1990s JavaScript-based hellscape of the internet, solving mysteries and like doing police detective-y things.
Oh my god, this shit looks like mid-90s internet too. I'm looking at the trailer for the first time.
It's GeoCities to hell, bro. It's great.
Wow, this has amazing reviews too. I'm gonna have to take a look at this. I haven't even heard of this until now.
Right, and it's out. Sky Hill Black Mist comes out for PS4, Xbox One, and Switch. This is a survival action-adventure game. You wake inside huge interconnected buildings, and you're in the Sky Hill condominium. Your daughter has been kidnapped. The whole building's overrun by dark monsters and crazy cultists for whom you are prey. So, I don't know. It's an action game. You're trying to solve the mystery and not get murdered. Have fun.
Solve the mystery of the Black Hist.
Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles comes out on PS4 and Switch. This is a GameCube game from 2003 that you needed Game Boys to play, if you recall.
Yep.
You remember that?
I kind of want to play this. My only problem was, so I actually was able to get 4 Game Boys together, and we played this before. But the problem with Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles was the premise is there's a mist everywhere, and you're traveling, and it kills you. So you're traveling by holding this pot that keeps the mist at bay, but someone has to carry the pot at all times. So someone in every group of 4 was always designated the bitch.
Yeah, and they're just not playing.
Yeah, they're just moving this pot around.
Also important to note that while I mentioned it is on PS4 and Switch, after a quick Google, it's also available on iOS and Android, apparently. And that makes me worry that somehow you have to pair your phone to play it on PS4 or something.
Maybe. I
No
do
idea.
kind of want to play this on Switch, though, just to see it. Because the premise was cool.
It seemed like a cool game, and the thing is I obviously never beat it because trying to get 4 people that all had flipping Game Boys together so that you could do it was a nightmare.
Yeah.
Surgeon Simulator has a sequel. Surgeon Simulator 2 comes out to PC this week. It's like that other game, but newer, right? Kind of like how Rogue Legacy 2 is more of Rogue Legacy. Surgeon Simulator 2 is a lot more Surgeon Simulator.
What was the description? It combines Rogue Legacy and a sequel.
Yeah. Imagine the combination of Rogue Legacy and a sequel.
Same idea, I'd imagine.
That's great. Best Friend Forever comes out for Switch and PC. This is a visual novel dating sim about raising puppies. So if you ever want to raise a pup and somehow navigate the mysteries of human dating at the same time, meet the colorful cast of Rainbow Bay, date a few kitties, and teach a new dog new tricks. Maybe in a flip. With the power of dogs and millennial woes at your side, this isn't a game to miss. This game looks very cute. It kind of has a trailer that's like mostly talking about dogs, and dogs are pretty tight. And you're adopting puppies, and it's also a dating sim. So have fun if you're into both of those things at the same time. Captain Tsubasa, Rise of New Champions hits PS4, Switch, and PC. This is a casual soccer RPG. So not a street action soccer game. This is a casual soccer RPG. So have fun with that. It's 3D though, so it's not that what was that golf RPG? Was it literally just golf RPG on Switch? I don't remember. Anyway, Wasteland 3 is coming out. I know you're going to play this game, so I don't need to tell you too much about it. PS4, Xbox One, PC, and Mac. Look at that. Following the critically acclaimed 2014 Game of the Year winner, Wasteland 2.
Real good game. I remember when the first Wasteland came out. I'm that old.
Hell yeah. The RPG series that pioneered the post-apocalyptic genre in video games returns with Wasteland 3. Keep in mind that Wasteland was the grandfather to like Fallout.
Yeah, if there was no Wasteland, there'd be no Fallout. Flat out. In fact, a lot of the members of that made Wasteland made the first Fallout. So there you go. I'm super excited for this because there's a faction in this group called the Gippers. Now, in the Wasteland universe, the world ended like in the 80s. Ronald Reagan was the president in the 80s. So these people have taken worship of Ronald Reagan to like a Masonic level. And they call themselves the Gipper, and they have like this book about how to live life according to Reagan, and I can't be more stoked to examine what these people are like. Because that just makes me laugh to some unbelievable degree.
You have fun with that.
I will. I absolutely
be more
will.
interested in Project Cars 3. Hits PS4, Xbox One, and PC this week. This is the third of the kind of hyper simulation car games from, dang it, what's the name of that company? Anyway, I don't remember. Project Cars 3. Like the last two. I think they make a good racing sim. I think that a lot of people bounce off of these games because they are difficult to play, which is kind of how sim games are supposed to be, in my opinion. And
that's the point, isn't it?
Yeah. I will probably play this game because I have a racing wheel, and I think that these games are fun.
Slightly Mad Studios is a developer published by Bandai Namco.
Thank you. But yeah, this is not a arcade racing game, and everyone can have an argument with me over which sim game's best, and I don't really care. Play whichever ones make you happy. Next, I'm on Extinction. Comes out for PS4, Xbox One, and Switch, and PC and Mac. Man, reading's hard at this point. We're going over time, man. I can't read anymore.
Yeah, we're way over time.
This is, I am now coining a phrase, a Pokemon-like. Because there's officially enough of them that I can call it that, and you don't have to ask me any more questions about it.
All right.
Madden NFL 21 is a game coming out for PS4, Xbox One, and PC. It's the next one.
For a game that sells so much every year, there's always so little fanfare about this.
And
it's just we all know it's coming.
Yep. So there you go. Get your new Madden on. Windbound hits PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. This is an adventure RPG survival game. You're shipwrecked on an island. You're exploring, adapting, and navigating the land and perilous seas to stay alive. It looks interesting, but again, it's a survival-based game, and I've kind of started bouncing off that genre.
Oh, I bounced off that genre a long time ago.
Right? Like, I'm going to punch down this tree, and I'm going to build shelter, and it's, it's cool.
The early access crave sucked, because when early access came out, it felt like everything was always a survival game, and it just sucked any desire I had to play any of it.
Yeah. And then last but not least, there's Immortal Realms Vampire Wars, which I think, didn't you play it, or you were telling me about it the other day? Because we had talked about it briefly, I think a week or two ago, and then I was really excited for it, and you kind of called me off of it and said I shouldn't be as excited for it as I was.
I remember talking something about it.
It's a turn-based isometric game about a dark vampire world, and it's got card game elements, and you're managing troops, and I like turn-based combat games.
I remember this conversation. I also remember saying something about it that was negative, but I no longer remember what that was because I stopped caring about this game.
Hilarious. Well, anyway, I think this game, with no previous knowledge of it, looks like it could be fun.
I wish I could remember what it was, because I remember being down on it for some reason. It's just
I like turn-based strategy games. I think this could be a fun video game, but maybe we should wait to see what the reviews are, because for some reason, every once in a while, this dumbass guy next to me actually knows some shit and tells me about it, so that I don't waste my money.
Let me take a look at who's developing it real quick here. Maybe it was someone who was developed. Maybe it's like the developer.
The developer's Palindrome Interactive, published by Calypso Media.
Well, Calypso Media is a very C-tier publisher, I can tell you that. Fuck, I don't remember. I remember talking about the game. Right? I remember saying something about it that was negative in tone, and now I just don't recall what it was.
Well, maybe this game's awesome, and you're just secretly an asshole.
Hey, it could be.
As opposed to your, overt assholeness.
Overt assholeness. See, it's me being the overt asshole that lets the secretive asshole really get one over on you. Because you're like, he's a dick, but is he that much of a dick? The answer is yes.
Yeah, basically.
100% of the time.
But that's all I got. That's the last one.
David, that brings us to the end of new releases, which brings us to the end of the show. This has been GamePoints episode 229 on this longer than normal episode. And thank you all for joining us. Captain Ice Cold, Soul Glove, to everyone else happens to be lurking. Just truly appreciated. If you want to catch us live, we will be here again this Tuesday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, right here at Twitch TV/GamePoints. If you can't catch us live, however, you can join us over at youtube.com/GamePointsPC for all the old shows. Regardless of where you're watching at, questions, comments, concerns, please leave them so we can answer them. And also follow with notifications turned on, subscribe, bits. You guys know what streamers want. It's all there. If you want to follow the show on Twitter, you can do so at GamePointsPC. You can join the Discord server, link provided down below, regardless of where you're watching. It should pop right up there. You can follow myself, Stephen Brown, at CapitalistPig21, and you can follow David there at PowerSlife_Satori. I'll be back tomorrow at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to play New World. I have early access to the upcoming MMO that Amazon is making, so we're going to take a look at that and see if it's worth a damn. I personally have no idea how it's going to go. I've never played an MMO on stream before, so we will see. Between you and me and everyone watching, David, I don't actually have that much high hopes for it, but I could be wrong. And then, of course, we have Opening Night Live later this week as well, so keep tuned to this channel to see if I do live reacts on that. Thank you all for showing up. This has been GamePoints, and until next time, we're out of here.